You may not realize it, but there is so much history to this once beautiful, rich, thriving country. Today, as we are all too aware, this communist island run by Fidel Castro, just to the south of Miami, is now a mere shell of its former beauty. But what is it really like today? In this next magazine segment, we will find out, courtesy of travel writer Christopher Baker and the cameras of National Geographic.
Well, in terms of how many Americans visit Cuba every year, we're talking about 170,000. Let me just say that there is no prescription on traveling to Cuba. The restrictions are on spending money. But there are criteria within U.S. law that permit various categories of Americans to travel legally and spend money in Cuba. That would include people like journalists, academics, athletes, etc. Then educational institutions have licenses so that students and staff can travel. And fortunately for almost every American citizen, they would be legally able to travel to Cuba with organizations and tour companies that hold licenses for what's called people-to-people exchange. Individuals who are legally permitted to go and spend money in Cuba they have a limit as to what they can purchase. So they can only spend, right now it's $154 a day, and they can only bring $100 worth of purchases back. The Cuban people are absolutely fabulous. They're vivacious, they make the most of a hard time. Most people are relatively poor in Cuba, but they find all manner of means to really enjoy life. I love the way, for example, that they all pour into the street day or night and crank up the music, and the air becomes saturated with salsa and sensuality. Cubans are sensualists. We know the Buena Vista Social Club, the album and the movie that's been tremendously successful, has given a lot of attention to Cuba's musical heritage, which is still alive on the streets of Havana and in the nightclubs of Havana. And so Cuba's musical tradition, its nightlife, ranges from the traditional musical forms such as son, which was typified in Buena Vista Social Club, to salsa, and one thing that I love particularly is the cabarets. The Las Vegas-style cabaret is actually an integral part of Cuban culture. Cubans absolutely love Americans. We're long-lost friends in many ways. There's a long history going back over a century. But of course, for decades, it's been, in a sense, off-limits to Americans, and Cubans really miss Americans. They love Americans. They've got affinities in baseball. We both love historic American cars which are rumbling down the roads to the rhythm of the rumba on the radio. They're everywhere in Cuba. We have many things in common. Socio-economically, the revolution, in a sense, really leveled everybody to more or less the same low standards. The middle class, for example, that was very profound on the eve of the revolution, was pretty much destroyed. Now, there was great poverty in Cuba on the eve of the revolution, and the truly poor have been elevated. They've been raised up, but everybody lives at a basic level, a low level. The average wage, for example, in what is now pretty much fully a US dollar economy, is about 350 pesos per month. That translates to about $11 or $12 per month is the average salary. Physically, Cuba is absolutely fascinating. Firstly, let's take the cities. Old Havana, a city that dates back to the early 17th century, is in a process of restoration, a fabulous restoration project in which the palaces, the castles, the old mansions are being brought back to life. The cobbled streets are still there. It's easy to imagine Ernest Hemingway carousing on his way to La Floridita for a sugarless double daiquiri with his friends, for example. So the cities have got this tremendous historic aspect to them. The countryside has these fabulous lyrical landscapes. Then you've got the beaches, some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, shelving into turquoise bathtub warm waters. I think many travelers to Cuba are quite surprised by how many wonderful hotels actually exist in Cuba. Havana is blessed with dozens of hotels, many of which come up to international standard, and a lot of them have this fabulous historic quality. Right now, in the heart of old Havana, the Cuban government is restoring a lot of mansions and palaces and converting them to hotels. If I were a first-time traveler, I would say to myself, please put any fears you have away. You are going to be welcomed wholeheartedly. You are going to come back enthralled by this surrealistic country full of communism and carnality, surrealism and socialism. These are heady mixes. Just go with a very open heart. Do not go with your firm political beliefs. Be very open to understanding that things are never black and white, that there are many shades of grey, and be aware that you are not going to be treated as an enemy. Whatever the cantankerous nature, if you will, of the political scenario between Washington and Havana, you will be welcomed fully. You can travel freely. You can rent a car. You can even rent a brand new Audi or a Volvo if you want. That, by the way, is the only thing you can actually use the US credit card for in Cuba, one particular company. And go with an open spirit and an open heart. Go with an intention to learn a little salsa. Go with the intention to smoke a Cuban cigar. Go with the intention to down your mojito. You'll come back very happy.
Christopher Baker tells of his 3-month journey across Cuba on a motorcycle in his new book, Mi Moto Fidel.